You come out, you sew, you stitch. You don't think of certain people, certain types of people sewing and stitching. Especially for a prisoner or ex-prisoner, you know, you sit there and you're thinking, you know, all the fellas and all the ladies, you know, the women that are inside, yeah, we all did this. And then to find out a judge did part of it as well, you know, or a police officer or you know, a solicitor or somebody. And you're thinking, I've never worked in collaboration with him ever, you know. But yeah, here we are all coming together in one project.
What's interesting about Wikipedia for me is that it's quite subjective, really. It's not the Oxford English Dictionary. It's made of many contributions. Anybody can amend it. It can have falsehoods, it can have agendas, it can be distorted, it can be corrupted. And I just kind of liked it for that it's made of thousands of contributions, lots of hands have helped make this entry. So I thought, well, perhaps this is it. Perhaps this is what I need to do. I need to make a kind of embroidery, a literal embroidery. So take it off the screen, off the digital and into analogue again. I like the democracy of the Wikipedia page, and I wanted that echoed in the piece, that everybody can contribute, everybody's on the same page. There was 36 prisoners in total from 13 different jails that worked on the piece, and then there's about 200 words that had been left blank, which were done by about 160 individuals that I'd invited.
I had 2 words to do, common and people. So I started doing common on the train, and I thought I'm going to make a right hash of this. This is a stupid idea because the train was kind of, you know, bouncing around. I took my glasses off, held it really close. I was quite pleased with what I'd got, and in fact that turned out much better than when I actually sat down and took it seriously.
People are all the same, aren't they? It doesn't really matter necessarily where you come from or what your occupation is. You know, when you sit down to something like this, you know, everybody's the same. There's no one person better than anybody else, you know, because at the end of the day, stitching is stitching, you know, sewing is sewing.
I don't want this to be a nice embroidery in the sense of it being perfect and pristine. You know, it's got tea stains from prisoners on it. It's got Alan Rusbridger's blood when he pricked his finger. And some of the words are badly embroidered, but that's all part of it. You know, I didn't want to make a consummate piece of embroidery.
It was great, really, that she was so liberating with the stitch, because I come from a background that concentrates very much on the perfection of the stitching. She wanted the variety, she wanted the energy, she wanted the different people's input to be there in the stitching.
For my piece, I selected a method that was used at the time of the writing of the Magna Carta. It's a very, very time-consuming technique. It's not used very much today. If an embroiderer does it, they will do something like an inch square. This small piece, A4, took me 450 hours to do.
I mean, the exquisite jewel-like quality of the Embroiderers Guild's contributions on the illustrations are contrasted with, you know, perhaps the clumsy handling of a word by a lawyer or a judge. So I like that combination.
I mean, there isn't a Bill of Rights in England, and there's not one document which sets out everything that we take for granted in our society and that makes our society work. And I think the difficulty with that is it makes it very easy to cut down on our rights without people debating it and without having a public discourse about whether this should happen or not. I think the interest in the Magna Carta is that at that time it was seen as very important that it was in writing so that everyone understood that there was be no going back from that.
When you come into prison and you meet lots of people who've been through the criminal justice system, you realise that it's an area of so many shades of grey, and that these concepts are supposed to be accessible to absolutely everybody in our society.
Yes, it should percolate right across the system, and that's what I want to do with the piece. I want it to embrace every corner of the system.
But that's why it's great that you have involved prisoners with it, because we're kind of used to being sidelined.
The word freedom crops up throughout the piece, and that's been embroidered by loads of prisoners, but it's also been embroidered by people like Baroness Varsi. Julian Assange embroidered the word in the Ecuadorian embassy. Their interpretations of the word freedom will be very different, as is their embroidery technique. The word liberty crops up a lot as well. and liberty was embroidered by Edward Snowden in Russia.
Magna Carta itself is a Latin document of about 3,500 words, and one of the things that often really surprises people is how small it is. It's written on a single sheet of sheepskin parchment. And I think the scale of Magna Carta itself really contrasts strongly with the scale of Cornelia's artwork. As you can see, it is this enormous embroidery which so many people have contributed to.
It's not about trying to define the Magna Carta, it's about all the complexity and unsaid things about the Magna Carta I'm more interested in.
I think a lot of people in the way they approach life don't recognise the freedoms that they've got. And it's only when you have the freedoms taken away that you really start to value freedom and you understand what freedom means.
Law should be about making sure that everybody is treated fairly in society, and I think we've lost that. I think we're losing that, and we're losing that without any public debate because it's not written down anywhere, because we don't cherish it as much as we should do.